Let's listen to the former president of the Judicial Staff Association of Ghana, Alex Nartey. He's made some revelations, especially on our need to touch on alternative dispute resolution. He sat with our legal affairs correspondent, Murtala Inusah.
CJ.
What is it about Justice Eninyeboah that Jusak, as it were, will always adore? Because in the eyes of the public, he didn't have that Jusak is communicating now.
Well, I think the administration of Justice Eninyeboah was over-politicized.
Is that why?
Yes.
So
baselessly. They suspected him of things that naturally he didn't have the heart to do. He was a man of integrity. He worked with human face. He worked with human face.
His body language.
Come again?
Many had issues with the way he conducted himself in public.
You can't judge somebody by his appearance or what you suspect him of when you have not actually assessed and determined truly what the person is. He spoke with us a lot. He spoke to us a lot. We had extensive discussions with him on issues of integrity, quality public service, and all that. And we enjoyed working with him. He had time. He had an open door policy, and you enter his office and you are not nervous. You enter his office, and upon seeing you, he mentions your name. Hey, Nartey. Hey, Alex. You again? What is it? How do we deal with it? He always approached solving problems from what we call an interest-based principle, where he was collaborative in engaging us. Give me feedback. What do you think I can do? What can we do together? What do you think? I'm taking this decision, and you are my key stakeholders. I want to share it with you before I carry it on. What do you think? There were instances where he presented decisions that he had thought of taking to us, and upon our input, he revised the approach and all that. Certain things he may have gotten from somewhere that it was not clear. We provided the full picture, and that enabled him to take some of the decisions he took. I think that when it is right, you don't have to play around it. If it is wrong, you have to say it. Yes. So there was nothing like any hate in the staff at the time he was leaving us. Yes. And we wish he had a longer stay. So that's actually a sincere information I can share about him.
I'm sure that you are currently aware of the controversy surrounding the judiciary and all that, how things are happening and all that. From where you sit, I know now you don't work directly with the Chief Justice, the management, as you used to be in your previous role as GHOne president. But based on what is happening currently within the judicial system and the judiciary, what's your assessment so far?
You haven't told me what is happening. You say based upon what is happening.
A lot of controversies. Okay, let me put it this
specific, and I will decide which one I deal with.
So the Chief Justice had made it a point to interact more with members of the Judicial Press Corps. There are many who have issues with that interaction. What do you make of that?
I am rather in support of that, and I commend the current Chief Justice for her courage. It is not easy engaging the press. Anybody who is comfortable with the press has nothing to hide, and he intends to meet standards. And so I think that the Justice Tokonu must be commended for being media friendly. The access to justice and the administration of justice and the institution responsible for it is so critical to the hearts of Ghanaians. Everybody loves the institution. That's why everybody is talking about it. And so they want to understand and respect what we do. And the only way we can do that is to engage with the media, the conduit that by which we could reach the populace. In fact, when I was leaving the Judicial Council, I offered an advice that what I knew that judges and managers of the judiciary said was that silence is golden. Let us not comment. Time will heal it and all that. I told them that looking at the era in which we are, with Ghanaians wide awakened and expectant to hear and understand what is going on, silence is no longer golden. I told the Judicial Council, I don't know whether it was recorded, and I recommended that we should work at strengthening our public engagement system and look and set up a committee that will regularly engage the public on issues that affect the judicial service. Because when I was in office, I took upon myself to address some of the issues that were left hanging. And I think that it went a long way to help. Sometimes you sit back and you hear even professors, some lawyers, commenting on some of the things that have happened in the judicial service. And because they don't have information, they twist it.
And just to add that, she's also allowed some coverage, live coverage of some cases at the court. What's your take?
Well, under our rules, every court sitting is a public hearing. I believe that in the minds of the founding fathers of the judiciaries and that of ours, if they had the means and the option, they would have provided that every sitting should be telecast. But I think it wasn't possible. But they had it in mind that per our constitution, you see, justice emanates from the people. The power of the judiciary to do justice emanates from the people. And so the people must be interested in how we are using the power they have conferred on us. There's nothing wrong. So telecasting any important event that Ghanaians are interested in is very, very important. We say democracy is participatory, isn't it? Have we taken time to catalog the list of activities that make it participatory? One of them is making the court accessible, placing information about the court at the disposal of the public. And so that is also another commendable style of hers that we all need to praise her for.
Just before we conclude on this discussion, I'm going to give you that opportunity, even though you've not had the opportunity to work directly with the Chief Justice as when you were then the president of GHOne. Now you are a former. On a scale of 1 to 10, based on what you have seen from where you sit and all that, how will you rate her?
I would not rate her in terms of figures, but I would say she has been fantastic. As far as I have been assessing her, looking at her dispositions, her heartbeat for the work, immediately she took office, she ensured that relevant officers are met, the various, engagement were held about her plans, her aspirations, her understanding of what we do and what she thinks we should do to achieve those aspirations she had and to serve Ghanaians better. Very, very enthusiastic and deep in terms of knowledge and skills. And I think that the energy, the enthusiasm that she has brought to bear on the job is so impressive. But she's human. There is a saying that in Akan, there is a saying in Akan that Konsyu and a boy hina. We shouldn't expect that as she strives to serve us better, she will not make mistakes. Unfortunately, Ghanaians, we take delight in looking at wrongs and faults, and we blow those mistakes out of proportion, and we draw conclusions without looking at the other side. I think that so far so good, and we must all pray for her to be able to do more in line with her set target for the judiciary.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for the moment. So that is Mr. Alex Nartey, the former president of GHOne. Currently, he is the coordinator, the national coordinator of, currently, he is the director of ADL, Judicial Service. Judicial Service. And in our subsequent edition, we'll bring you out to speed of what has been happening at ADL, all that has been happening. Quite recently, we had the ADL week. We'll bring out with the numbers, what are the issues, how many cases have we been able to resolve, how many are pending, and what is the success rate. You know, the first term, in fact, within the year, we have 3 terms to come out. The first term has been held, and we look forward to the second and third. In our subsequent editions, we'll bring to bear what has been the issues happening in respect of ADL.
Well, thank you so much for staying on with us here on GH Today on GHOne Television. My name is Joshua Kodjo Mensah. It's time to get into the breakfast review segment, and my guests have joined me in studio already. I have with me in the studio the Member of Parliament for Cape Coast South. He's also a former Deputy Trade Minister, George Kweku Ricketts-Hagan. Mr. Hagan, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
It's been a while.
How are you? It's been a while, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well also.
You look well.
Thank you. And you also look very, very well.
Thanks.
Yeah,
thanks.
amazing.
Under the circumstance.
Under the circumstance. We'll come and talk about the circumstance there. But I also have the Deputy Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources. He's also a Member of Parliament, and he likes to add the NPP Member of Parliament for Sisala East, Alhaji Amidu Chinia. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good.
And today you showed up in white, all white, looking like in a celebratory mood.
It was just coincidence.
It's just coincidence. All right.
Nothing special.
Nothing special. We thank God. We thank God anyways. And we'll also be joined in studio shortly by his very good friend, Bernard Mona. He is former chair of the PNC. Now he's seeking to lead the PNC as flag bearer. He'll join us shortly. But gentlemen, this morning, and it's important that we have the conversation on what happened in Parliament yesterday. The Speaker says, you know what, he's not directing, but he's advising that the LI that was introduced, the Standard Authority LI, that's basically going to see the regulation of prices of cement in the country, if possible, be withdrawn. Because as it stands now, it looks like any time there is an LI going to be laid, there will be lawsuits against that, and that is going to make the work of Parliament, like in his words, it says it will be useless in a way. I mean, exactly your thoughts on that, because you are in Parliament and you have also been at the Trade Ministry. Exactly your thoughts on that.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you again and to our viewers this morning, and my brother, Honorable Minister here.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole airline, to start off with, was completely needless. Needless in the sense that what the airline is trying to cure is not curing the actual, symptoms that's causing the price increase in cement, which is very difficult in a sense that if we are not able to, look at things like cement prices and pretty much everything that is going up, in this country, then we stand a chance of having serious problems in terms of our development. We have a housing shortage of about 2 million, houses a year in this country. And if prices of cement are skyrocketing, then, we're going to fail in basically putting the necessary infrastructure that we need. But in resolving the problem, you must understand, the problem itself, which in my mind, it doesn't look like the minister actually understand the problem. By the way, I think he's my good friend, but I think he's been a bit of a disaster.
You mean K.T. Hammond as Minister of Trade and Industry?
Yes, it's been a bit of a disaster since he got to that ministry.
How so?
And I'll come to that.
Right.
And pretty much everything that he's confronted with in terms of a challenge. And as you rightly said, I've been at the ministry, not as minister, but deputy minister. So yeah. I have some insight in the workings of that ministry. And I don't know whether because he's a lawyer, he tends to think of the solution to everything to be, legislation, if you like. I mean, I'm sure you quite remember not too long ago, the issue with a ban on importation and all that. And then that airline basically fell on its face. And then again, the next time we've heard of him again, it's another airline, which looks like it's going the same direction. So in that sense, and he's incurred the displeasure of pretty much all the players within the trade and industry, with a ban on importation on those commodities. He had issues with the goods and, food and beverages and all that. With this, the manufacturers, is the turn of the manufacturers. So I don't think he's actually got a clue as to how to manage trade and industry activities in this country. And it is for that reason that I said I think he's been a disaster, not as a person, but I'm talking about disaster in terms of his management of the Trade and Industry Ministry. Now, the issue, as you said, prices of cement are high, pretty much like everything. I mean, prices of tomatoes are high. So are we going to have an ally, for tomatoes as well, being next? The issue with cement, obviously, if you look at something simple, should tell you what is going on there. And I know there are professionals within the Ministry of Trade and Industry who should be able to advise him. I mean, he doesn't need to know everything, but there are professionals, technocrats there who should be able to tell him. If you look at the price of cement, say over the last 10 years, it's been going up basically astronomically.
Yeah.
It's now pretty much in the last few years been exponential, type of growth in cedi terms. Now, when you look at the same cement prices, that is at each price point, say if in the last 10 years, and you look at the exchange rate at that time and convert those prices to dollars, you realize that the price of cement in dollar terms has been pretty much a straight line. That tells you clearly that what is happening is to do with the exchange rate. So if your exchange rate is or your cedi is depreciating against the dollar, and the price of cement in dollar terms is not actually going up, Then, of course, a major issue you have there is to do with the exchange. Why should exchange rate become a problem in the production of cement? Because, as I'm told, and I'm not a cement manufacturer,
right,
that over 80% of the input that goes into cement production are actually things that are important into this country, which requires, that's where the exchange rate comes in.
Right.
These things are brought in dollars, and we're going to pay dollars for it. Each time you are going to bring this in, if the dollar is fluctuating the way it is, and has become basically a volatile relationship between the dollar and the cedi, then of course these things are going to be priced in, and it is part of the reason why
we are seeing what is
we
happening.
are seeing what is saying.
Right.
Another thing is to do with, and a major thing which goes into cement production, what they call the clinker.
Clinker, yeah.
Seems to be going up in dollar terms, obviously, you know. So that's one. Then you come to taxes, which is something government can do something about it. Some of the nuisance taxes in the price buildup of cement is to do with what is it called? Taxes like fumigation taxes and all that. And my understanding is that no fumigation is actually done. So why do you keep such a tax? Third thing is to do with basically how things are done at the port. My understanding is that there's only one, you know, sort of a berthing place for these cement stuff coming in. So obviously the inspection process and all that tends to delay.
Yeah.
So something that should get out of the port in a day or two could take a week, or this result in demurrage charges, which also, it goes into the same price. So clearly, the minister's assertion that the prices are high as a result of the exorbitant prices that the manufacturers are charging to enrich themselves, basically...
And you believe that is not the case at all?
Basically has no... Well, you've got to have a proof or a data for it. There may be a few people engaged in such acts, but I wouldn't think it's universal, and I don't think that that is the reason why prices are, you know. We have about 15 or so manufacturers of cement, you know, in this country. And I don't think there's some kind of a cartel, you know, to do that. I don't see it. But you can clearly see, as I said, what the problems are in terms of cement prices going up that much. So for him to come up with a prescription, which I believe is completely different from what the symptoms, you know, are, it's basically a mismatch.
And it's quite interesting because I remember on Tuesday, I heard Honorable Governor Kwame Agbodza talk about the fact that, well, the main concern was the price regulation bit, which clearly he indicated that now they are happy with, they are okay with the LI as it is because that bit has been removed.
Well, on consensus, we were okay. But some of us still, you know, had some challenges with it, but on consensus. And Honorable Kwame, you know, was right. In a sense that, first of all, on the surface, we are supposed to be operating some kind of a liberalized free market, you know, economy. And what KT is trying to introduce in his ally is basically a price control, which is contrary to, you know, that type of, you know, ideology or whatever you want to call it. So to bring this kind of price control was not the way to go.
Right.
And that was of major concern. So, but the ally was, as I said, I told you earlier on, was needless in the first place. So in any shape or form,
you still want, you would prefer
I thought that,
be,
you know, the ally should be scrapped. But, you know, Honorable Agbodza is right that the major concern is to do with the price control, which obviously was removed and replaced with something that looks more like an administrative. So in terms of the manufacturers having some kind of a requirement to do some kind of a reporting, which I thought was quite cumbersome and unnecessary. In the end, all this could even lead to an additional cost because people will have to be employed to do all these things. Employment might probably not a good thing, but unnecessary layers.
Okay.
Breach, corruption, and a whole lot of other things. Once somebody is responsible in even approving your report and all that, and the revoking of licenses, which the chairman of that committee that they set up, Cement Manufacturers Development Committee, another unnecessary layer, saying that they're going to invoke people's licenses and all that. Look, in the long run, this could end up being counterproductive.
Okay.
Where we will have to end up not only bringing, importing the input of cement into this country, but rather importing the whole cement.
Okay.
Because these guys will relocate and go into other places,
all right,
which they already are. So for me, it was really needless. And I'm glad that the Right Honourable Speaker, though he's coming from a different angle as a result of, as you said yesterday in Parliament,
yes,
on minorities, be specific, or specifically, Honourable Haruna Idrisu, the former minority leader, pointed out in the GSA's own act, that's the Ghana Standard Authority, I think 1078, Section 80, that they don't actually have any legal authority to be regulating prices. Their job is to do regulate standards. And even that, it talks about sales and advertising. There's nothing about pricing there.
Okay.
It's upon that, revelation that by Honourable Haruna Idrisu, which is a constitutional matter, that the Speaker advised, as you rightly said.
And he said
and not
he's not directing, he's advising.
Advising.
Right.
So I hope that the Minister listens to the Speaker's advice, withdraw. Speaker was talking about the language and everything being changed. But to be honest with you, I hope I never see that LI in Parliament.
Interesting. Yeah. So let me introduce Honourable Chinia into the conversation. Alhaji, so as it stands now, is it the case that the minority is making a mountain out of a molehill, for which reason you feel that, well, the LI should still go through? Because, like we have said, the key thing was the price regulation. We are told that has been replaced. And so for the majority side, is it that once that is done, then that is it?
Well, let me say good morning to you and good morning to the Honourable Member of Parliament and to my senior brother, Bernard Mona. We're in Golu together over the weekend to mourn with the family of the late Golu Koro. He was there with his delegation and I saw him seated with gurus of the NDC. And I asked him why he had to. I mean, I wasn't comfortable where he was seated. And his contender, Apasara, was also present.
I'm sure Bernard Mona will have answers for you shortly.
Anyway, let me also say good morning to our viewers, listeners, and especially people in the Sisala Ismail constituency who are especially listening to us through Sisala Radio. Well, I think that the last point my senior brother made is for me is very important, and I mean, if you are bringing a new policy or a new regulation or a new law or a new bill, sometimes you may not pay attention to certain necessaries that people may draw your attention to. And when it happens that way, it is important for you to listen. I to a large extent, was convinced by the contribution of the Honourable former minority leader, which he just mentioned about the parent law conflicting with the current LI. And I think that the Minister for Trade and his advisors will have to relook at it, because we should not make a law that cannot stand the test of time or that can be contested in court and nullified. It belittles Parliament. I mean, you can't have 275 members of Parliament representing constituencies and a speaker and a whole gamut of staff, and we make a law, and in a very short period, it is found out that that law is or doesn't conform with, it will be an insult and a manner of our reputation. And so I quite agree that there should be further engagement. And if that is clearly established that this LI will contravene the parent law of the Standard Authority Act, then it is worth being withdrawn and probably some amendments being made, because you can't have a parent law that gives authority or tells you what you are capable of doing or what you should be doing, and then you make a subsidiary law which now gives you a different authority other than the parent law. I mean, and the parent law certainly is higher than the legislation that we are trying to pass. And so if it conflicts, then the parent law stands and then the new legislation fails. And for me, it will be a big indictment. So on the score of that, on the account of that, I think that there should be further engagement. I am not too clear about, I have not read the parent law, I have not done serious interrogation or analysis of the two to come to a conclusion. But from the way Haruna spoke and being a lawyer, and I believe that, and I have so far not heard anybody refuting and saying that what he's saying it's not true, and that this LI doesn't contradict. Yes, former trade minister. I have not heard anybody saying that it contradicts, contradicting his point. And as far as his point stands, then we need to relook at the LI. Otherwise, at the end of the day, it's like he said, if somebody goes to court to challenge it, the person will win. Because you can't make subsidiary legislation that now supersedes a parent law. It doesn't happen that way.
Right.
I mean, it is basic requirement in law. Now, to the substance of or the intention of the bill, to a large extent, I agree, because price control is not something that we need to entertain in the liberal economy. But of course, there are certain goods that you can have a standard that you use in determining when prices increase and when prices reduces, so that you have a transparent system. As it stands now, cement manufacturers and importers, on their own account, even sometimes local goods that are produced in Ghana, people increase prices on the basis of depreciation of the cedi, which in reality should not be the case.
Yesterday I had to buy coconuts, and I was told that the guy told me that because said Bibiabo costume. So no, things are going up because of the exchange rate. He says, "And it not affect him." Like, are you serious? Coconut to exchange rate. How does that affect?
So it's just mindset. Let me tell you, there are items people go to. They go to Makola and buy at 10 cedis, take it to Achumata, and then he's selling 100 cedis. And you go to another part of Accra, the same item, somebody is selling 80. You go to another part, somebody is selling it 30 cedis. There is a high level of dishonesty among all of us. Most of the time, people like to condemn politicians and create the impression that politicians are the dishonest one. But it appears that, I mean, the business community is not also being honest with us. You go to some other jurisdictions and people are very honest in pricing. But in Ghana, that is not the case. Because we operate a liberal economy, everybody just buy and peg prices the way they want.
And do you think that the LI will cure that particular one?
This particular one, I see it in the form of petroleum products. That if you have a standard formula for pricing that everybody knows and accept, that on the account of 1, 2, 3, you can increase or reduce. For instance, if the dollar, of course, the cedi depreciates against the dollar, then it means that the cost of getting cedis into dollars increases, and therefore it will affect pricing. But if it is allowed in its current state, where people just make a determination and increase at the percentage they want, somehow you cannot trust what goes in. They can do the right thing, they can also do the wrong thing. So I generally don't, like I said, I don't support price control. It's not something, I mean, the kind of economy we operate, you can't seek to control prices through legislation. You cannot do that. But of course, there are certain goods, like we have petroleum products being controlled. I mean, there's a formula that everybody knows. And when they are going to increase or reduce, I mean, it is open, transparent. Everybody appreciates the reason for increasing or decreasing. I am tempted to believe that cement is another product that we can apply a similar situation. But if we are to do that, then we have to build consensus across board. Right. There has to be consensus among the majority, the minority. There has to be consensus between the trade ministry and the industry players. As it stands now, I mean, in Parliament, we are divided over it between trade ministry and then the industry players. There is a division over whether there should be a legislation or not. The ministry thinks so. The industry players don't think so. But if there is a converging point that we all agree, and then we can come out with a standard formula that is not controlled by government, of course, but at least it is transparent, that you know that at this point, when things get to this point, you can increase or you can decrease. That's at every point cement prices are increased or reduced. We all understand and appreciate it in a very transparent manner. But we should not, I mean, the ministry, it should not be like the ministry's product, which is not accepted by the rest of us. In that way, it will not work.
Okay, so clearly, where do you stand? The speaker's advice that you withdraw and relook at the language, among other things, or the minority's position that withdraw it and never bring it?
Well, for now, my personal position is that on the basis, on account of what the former minority leader said, if it is the case, I think it should be withdrawn. And whether it should be brought back or not, I believe that we can sanitize it and bring it back. We can do more engagement, and because we need a standard procedure of determining cement prices, because it's a product that affects everybody, just like petroleum. And having a formula, not that government is going to be controlling prices. Government will come out, they will sell cement. No. But it's just having a formula that you can feed in and determine whether price should go up or go down in a very transparent manner that everybody appreciates.
Okay, right. Well, so Bernard Mona has joined us, and in his smock...
He's looking angry. Why?
The gentleman walked in and you greeted him with what you saw over the weekend and the people he was with. And I know definitely he would have some responses for you. Bernard Mona, you're welcome. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Unfortunately, I am not angry.
You're not angry. So
but if I'm angry, it is because of the terrible economy that we find ourselves in. No one should be excited about the way things have been run terribly. You notice that whilst I was not here, and it was deliberate, because he has been protesting my appearance on the show with him on Thursdays. Then he started calling me, where are you? So I called him back and said, are you not the one that said that I should not be coming for the show? All of a sudden, when you didn't see me, you realized that your day will not be made. But I am amazed at Honorable Chinia. Of course, we went to Golu, and all of us and our concern was to give a befitting farewell to our late chief, the paramount chief of police, a colossus of his Sisala history, a man who served as an inspiration that it doesn't matter which profession you are or you start with, you can go to the luminous summit.
So you have visuals on your screens now. What happened over the weekend? Dr. Baumia and Black Smoke, really excited there. And Bernard, is that you in the blue smoke? Yeah. Oh, okay. That's Bernard Mona. Right. So I'm looking around him and to try and find the NDC people
the next president
I was talking about. I'm not watching where the NDC people
No, actually you will see
there are those before Bernard.
Former regional minister. That is Hamidou Suleimana.
Right.
You will also see
the NDC regional chairman.
You will see the NDC regional chairman.
And the MDC constituency executive.
Fantastic. I am happy. On that shed.
This man is the one on your right-hand side.
He's my son.
No, but...
He's my son. He came with me and the Sankanana. You know that we came...
But he's NDC.
But why?
So I'm saying you were surrounded by them.
Sankarana is
He's
NDC.
my friend. He's my friend too.
Sankarana is NDC.
No, Sankarana is not NDC. But I'm talking about
but
the
we
one.
Came with Sankarana.
But you left Sankarana and you came and sat with them.
No, because
you left
we took
Sankarana
to where the regional House of Chiefs were. And we went to where political parties were designated to sit.
And you were surrounded by NDC people?
No, that is where political parties sit. Are you saying the NDC people are not political party representatives?
You were the only odd one out.
If you...
Because amongst all the people who were seated there, they were all NDC except you.
So I decided to sit at where political parties are supposed to sit.
Because the place was designated.
It was designated for political parties. Right. And indeed, when I got there, the NDC had colonized the place.
Right.
They took control of this whole place. And Amidu Sulemana was telling me that, no, we can't sit here because his regional chairman is coming. And you can ask my constituency chairman. And I protested and said, can you see what is inscribed here? It says that political parties. Is the NDC the only political party here? You understand? Right. So we sat there and I protested and said, my constituency chairman is here. He must sit by me. My prospective and presumptive parliamentary candidate, Lawyer Sibiri, was there. And I said, he must also sit by me.
Is Lawyer Sibiri still PNC?
He is PNC.
Are you sure?
He is PNC.
We may have to get him to call in to tell us.
No, he is
because
PNC.
I doubt that.
You can't doubt the membership.
He's my friend. He's
you
my
can't
friend,
doubt
brother.
the membership of my party.
But he's my brother too.
Okay.
Are you from Gulu?
We are also Sales.
So what?
And we're teaching together. We
so
are
I'm
friends.
telling you that he was there.
Right.
And then I protested that
you
sit by me.
To talk about your...
and then you declined. You were there sitting down. Where political parties were not designated is where your favorite person who would not win was sitting with you. We were designated to sit at one corner. Right. They didn't come to sit there.
Yeah. So you did not intentionally go to sit
know,
with
that
NDC
is where political parties share this. Except that you are telling me that I am not of political
party. So he was the only one. Okay. Only one.
But sat with the political parties. With
my the only one.
So let's get into
the conversation.
But
importantly on this matter, and I think I must express sincere appreciation, particularly to the Vice President, that when a figure of that stature passes on, look, he is the direct brother of President Liman.
Yeah.
He was a nurse.
Really?
Yeah, he started as a nurse. Then along the line, when Liman was overthrown,
last week.
He went out to become a lawyer, and he had to be in exile in Nigeria, where he started his law practice. Came back to write the bar exams, and then also started practicing in Ghana. And of course, he became the chief of Golu and became a member of the Council of State. That should tell you that irrespective of which profession you start with, you can end up doing other things and many other things. And for me, that serves as a huge inspiration and motivation. That somebody says that, look, I am an economist, and therefore you want to die as an economist. This is a nurse, somebody in the health sector, moved to become a lawyer, moved from there to become a chief, a traditional leader. And then, of course, he was taken to the Council of State. So it's like the wisdom that he had was enormous to spread among the people. And to have the Vice President recognize that, look, aside that he was the president of the Upper West Regional House of Chiefs and Vice President at the National House and a member of the Council of State, that this is one of our own, and came around. And even as the Vice President said, 2 months to his death, he had written on behalf of the council of the Leman Secondary School to demand or to request for government support in vehicles and other things that will enable the school to run. Of course, the Vice President did not bring or honor the request. He came and said that he would do so. And we started laughing that the man has come to promise again. But aside that, can I make my point? Can I make my point?
I want to correct.
Don't correct. You had the chance here. You were attacking me. You are attacking me instead of making the point. Let me make my point.
The Vice President is the next president of Ghana. Don't lie on him.
When I'm sitting here,
let
me finish. Let me finish.
You can't become flag bearer more.
Let me finish. Don't worry about
it. So Bernard, just make your point.
So Ambassador will defeat you.
Don't worry about that one. Don't worry about that one. Akufo-Addo was defeated several times. He became president.
But Bernard, onto your point.
So, clearly, for me, I think that the significant and potent message the Vice President sent was to use the occasion to reassure the nation that it's not worth it for anybody to throw a stone throw a bullet, to pull a catapult, because you want him or any other person to become president or to win an election. And speaking at that environment, for me, was good. And of course, the jab to the MP was like he calculated it very well. The MP had said everything and said that he has donated a cow to be used for livestock for the vice president and his team. The vice president accepted it and said, but he personally would have preferred guinea fowl. But the guinea fowls, he's told, they have just migrated to Burkina Faso. And so they should do everything possible to ensure that the cattle too do not migrate to Burkina Faso. And I thought that it was a subtle political jab. Yeah. It was an occasion we honored our chief, and I want to thank Chinia for the things that he did behind the scenes to support me and the Sankanana.
Thank you. Right, so on to the substantive matter this morning. We are looking at what is happening in Parliament. An ally seeking to regulate price of cement. Now we are told, in fact, Speaker says, you know what, I'm advising you, just withdraw it. And then look at the language and text and do some modifications, because as it stands now, industry players are not excited about it.
Is it true that an advocate of free market is seeking to regulate the market? Really?
People don't know what they stand for anymore.
Seriously. The people who believe that the free market system.
No, but we are liberals. Free market, there's
Chief, regulate the show. Regulate the show.
You know, that's why he was really waiting for you to appear on the show. And without you on the show, he would not have said it.
You the socialists.
But Bernard, you have the floor, so don't allow Chief to take your
No,
time.
but I have to respect your viewers by not making noise along the line. You know. So the advocates, adherents of free market, all of a sudden say that the free market is not the panacea to our economic survival.
It is in respect of cement prices.
When they start from cement, where will they end? This is the same minister that got up and wanted to hijack imports for his cronies. Not that he wanted to restrict or to stop importation, but he was hijacking importation to his cronies by saying that anybody that would engage in the importation of certain produce or certain services, you need to come to the ministry for the ministry to give you approval before you can go and import.
And the import of that was to support the local industries. That's what we're told.
Don't believe in his naivety.
No, I'm just telling you exactly what he told us.
No, but don't believe in his naivety. Look, if you want to stop the importation of something, you issue a statement and say that these kind of goods and services are seized. Right? But you don't come and tell me that if you want to import a certain class of items, come through me, the minister, then I would now give you permit to go and import. Where is that coming from? It means you are not stopping or halting the importation.
You are controlling them.
But now you are controlling the people that can import. Do you understand what he's saying?
I do.
So you are not halting the importation of rice. You are not halting the importation of cooking oil. You are not halting the importation of pottery and allied products. What you are doing is that you can import, but come for me to issue a license. That was what it meant.
Yeah.
And you were asking yourself where this kind of logic was coming from.
Well, that LI did
So
not
I can
survive.
actually put in an application to import, and my application will be rejected. Chinia's application will be qualified.
But that's why that LI fell on its face.
Yeah, I mean, this is that minister. This is that minister who is talking the same way. Today, you said that you are going to regulate cement prices. As soon as you said that, the cement owners said that they are increasing their prices. So you, by your action, you have speculated that you are going to be restrictive. And so they have increased their prices. What are you going to do? Can we stop buying cement when our projects are halfway? You have impacted on the cost of construction by your recklessness. And this is the same character that will be insulting people that their heads are like coconuts. You see the kind of leaders we have. Who actually don't think before they take an action. They take an action before they think.
Right.
If these are the people that are called, we have the men. Indeed, we don't have the children. Clearly, we don't even have the children. Because Katie Hammond, one of the longest ever serving deputy ministers. Remember, under Kufuor, he served as deputy minister, so much that when Ghana had to sell a drill ship, he went and sold the drill ship and carried the money in his portmanteau and came to Ghana. Government asset.
That is not true. That is not true. And he went there as deputy minister for energy.
But you have
to put him on course. He's misleading and misinforming the public.
You see, I'm not looking.
And he didn't put money. He didn't put money in his portmanteau. It's a lie.
Oh, okay, you will call it briefcase.
The money was paid to government, not
which government account.
You can say that.
Which government account?
I'm not holding account numbers here.
So you are not holding it, and you know it's paid in.
No, Bernard, don't do that.
Carry the money in his
it's not true. It's not true.
Or the word portmanteau you don't like. Okay, briefcase.
Stop making false allegations.
And claim he brought it here. When he was called upon, he was there weeping. You see, people are entrusted with privileged position, and they must act with candor. We can make a moral suasion to the cement manufacturers. Otherwise, then the state should invest in producing its own cement. Whereby if the state had its own cement producing company, the state then can decide that its cement will be lower. And if the state cement were lower, that will compel the other players to now also reduce their prices, because if you don't reduce your prices, these ones will be bought. This is what a minister that thinks should be doing. That in view of the fact that all the cement productions are in private hands.
Yeah.
That is the reason why we are reaching catastrophic levels in prices. So I urge Mr. President and the government, let's go into ensuring that we also establish a cement producing company. Once we do that, we can then use that one as a regulator.
Okay.
Because if government was selling a cement at, say, 40 cedis, and you are selling your cement at 120 cedis, and it's of the same quality, who will come and buy your cement? So you could use the state cement produce this to regulate prices, and not to come and tell us that in a free market you are coming to do price controls. Ignorance is too much in our system.
Quite interesting. So Bernard Mona there, and you had some rebuttals.
No, he has no rebuttal.
Okay, because I really want to make sure that we have time for all of that.
No, he doesn't have any rebuttal. He's an Alaji who doesn't wear hat. Alaji, try to start wearing hat.
Bernard comments discussing the issue, and you must focus on discussing the issue and not the personality.
What did I
Your attacks on Honorable Katie Hammond is not fair.
Right.
He didn't carry any money in his portmanteau. The money was paid to government of Ghana.
Right.
No money was carried in his bag.
Okay. Which account?
And he didn't go there because he has been deputy minister. He went there because he was deputy energy minister, and that property, which belonged to GMPC, which is an agency under Ministry of Energy. Okay. So he was there appropriately.
Right.
I mean, let's be fair.
Okay. So let's talk about.
But that man was the one insulting the young people that they carried.
He was just joking. He was playing with them.
Okay, so me too, I'm joking.
You are not joking. You are undermining him.
Because, I mean, still in Parliament yesterday, and Bernard, we've talked about this. We talked about it last week, the riots in Kenya. Now the MPs are extremely worried. I heard the majority leader yesterday. I heard other members of Parliament also talk about the fact that, you know what, we should put in place every mechanism whatsoever to prevent a Kenya-like riot. And I've also heard situations where we've been told that under no circumstances should youth in Ghana ever have to emulate what is happening in Kenya. Honorable Ricketts again.
Worried we should be.
And are you worried because it happened to Parliament in Kenya?
not necessarily parliament in Kenya, but any country that runs its economy down the way we have, and that's our situation. As from how I see it, is even worse than the case of Kenya. And create an economy where cost of living is so high, where people are getting it basically difficult to survive. When you have imposed so many taxes on businesses and people, when you have done all the things that this government has done, and you see what has happened in Kenya, you should be worried. Where unemployment is so high. I mean, what is happening in Kenya is being done by, young people who can't get jobs to do, who have so many, direct and indirect taxes for those who work and those who don't work. Because even if you don't work, you're still going to, pay some taxes indirectly. And this bill that basically caused all this problem, it's quite similar to the e-levy.
Yeah.
And Kenya youth maybe think, they think differently maybe from our youth here, or because of the culture that we are. But it looks like if we don't change our acts, and that goes to all of us as politicians, if we don't rise up, and I'm not talking about uprising from the outside, but we, the political class, in challenging the diabolic and disastrous policies of our colleagues in government, then it's only a matter of time. And it's not just about talking. We can talk as much as we want about what is happening in Kenya, but we must show through action. There was when you talk about, us in opposition, when you talk about the government has borrowed so much, NDC left 120 billion, these guys have taken it to 600 billion in the last 5 years or something. And the question people ask you is that you were in parliament when these loans were coming through. And whatever you said inside or whatever, nobody heard you, but the loans got approved, then you are as guilty as charged, or as everyone. When we have a system where it's very difficult to effectively challenge what you think it's not right.
And what's that system? The parliamentary system as it stands now?
The system as it stands now.
Because for a lot of people, well, this parliament is not a parliament where governments can, where the minority will have its say and then the majority will have its way, because the numbers are almost balanced.
Almost balanced.
Right.
But still, they get a majority in the end, whether it's one person or whatever, you get a majority. But you see, a lot of things, and some of us, we have been vocal about it. A lot of things that happen in parliament where you think people get away with things, whether it's voting for ministers or whatever, and people go through, and all sorts of allegations and all that. If you ask me or any member of parliament, if you want to know what has been my voting patterns in matters that has come to the House, there's no way of knowing. So if there's no way of knowing what my position, like you go to other places, other jurisdictions, and you can tell that, on the issue of abortion, this is what you said, or this is where you voted. On the issue of this, you did that, and all that. So it's very difficult to hold certain individuals or to hold members of parliament accountable for their actions or inactions, other than just lump everyone together and think that we all think together and vote alike. But there are sharp contracts in the thinking and the decision process of some member of parliament that actually never sees any light in the day because of the structure that we have.
Right.
And then also the structure in terms of a parliament that is supposed to be independent or separate from the executive, but only on paper, because it is difficult for my colleague, who is a member of parliament elected by his people, to come and represent them. And then when he comes, he has to operate within certain constraints. The political party position, people looking for executive powers or people who have executive powers. He is a deputy minister, sanitation. If there's an issue in energy that he doesn't believe in, he can't shop out his party or his colleagues in that other ministry. And the same is expected if it happens to him. Where you have people, even at this 11th hour, hoping. There was a vetting yesterday of a deputy minister, I believe trade, as a result of Honorable Sticker going across the final. Even at this 11th hour, people are still hoping that
appointments will come through.
You know, so you have a system where when you talk to people in private, and we do talk, and we know the level-minded people, we know the rational people on both sides that are swimming against the tide.
But they can't publicly let us know.
That's what I'm saying. Because of the system that you have, where not gagged per se, but not being able to maybe speak publicly on certain things is seen as being a team player. And a team player, the word team player is supposed to be used in a good way. That if you say you are a team player, it means that you work together with people to achieve things. But we have a structure where people become team player going in a negative direction.
Right.
And that is extremely difficult. Also, other challenge that we have, there were certain structures that were not in parliament. And I believe that our new standing orders actually cures some of them, even in terms of committees. And come back to loans. We have a finance committee that obviously receive these loans from the executive. That this is what the government, is prepared to do. And then they scrutinize it and bring to us in the plenary for us to, debate it and approve it. Finance, economics is not everybody's daily cup of tea. So there are certain things that people don't comprehend, but they take the gospel word of the people who have been entrusted to have the understanding of examining these things and present a report that is supposed to be meaningful or easily understood by the rest of us who are looking at these things. And many a times, when you look at certain things, you look at certain gaps, whether deliberate or not, or people's view. People have different views. You can have two economists who can propose different theories, about things.
No matter.
Yeah. So when these things come, some approvals are done without people seriously comprehending what the whole thing is about, but feel that people have done a thorough job and that, we should go ahead with it. And we are always firefighting. The firefighting actually starts from the Ministry of Finance itself. and I have had the opportunity to serve at the Ministry of Finance, where very little economics is actually done at that ministry, but more financing. So we are financing an economy we don't understand from the ministry itself. And the ministry has technocrats who are PhDs in economics and all that. But very little economics. You know, the ministry used to be called, and sometimes it's important in a name of a place. The ministry used to be called the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning. So at least when you go to that ministry,
you should see some economics.
You should see some economics. Over the years, the name has become the Ministry of Finance. And the economic planning bit is been ceded to NDPC, who are supposed to be doing the grand planning, not only on the economy, but a grand planning of the whole nation.
But interestingly, Honorable, looking at all of this, the Ghanaian youth, for instance, in Kenya, they are rioting because there's a tax that has been presented that Parliament is working on, and they're not happy about it, and so they take to the streets. Do they have to understand all of these things?
No, they don't. But they expect the people, and that's what I'm saying, they expect the people put in charge, their representatives, to be able to understand. Because when you are a representative of the people, you look at things with two lenses. One is at the people who sent you there and the challenges and the difficulties they are facing. The other is about the government that you are part of, whether you are in the legislation or executive.
But the argument is that for MPs, you are only looking at the government, especially when you are in power. And then when you are out of power, that's when you remember the people. And so there's a lot of disaffection there for you too as MPs.
That is not exactly true. There may be some element of that. But I'm telling you, the constraint within which we work in Parliament. I mean, somebody has become an executive, serves the people as an MP. I mean, does he remember the people or doesn't? Or remember the executive more than the people? We've got to move forward to a clear separation of having members of Parliament serving as members of Parliament and not doubling up as ministers. I mean, after all, you are not supposed to take a double salary anyway.
So then the problem goes back to the Constitution. Because the Constitution says you need to appoint
absolutely. So that's what I'm saying, that there are challenges. Now, come to the loan itself that has been approved. Until recently, or with our new standing orders, Parliament did not have any committee that has an oversight responsibility in checking the economic impact of these monies that we have borrowed for the project that the executive presented to us that they were going to use these monies for. So you may be a member of Parliament who clearly support a loan application that has come before you. That this loan application is going to do garage or whatever they call these things. And you know that this project is a good project if done, will help the community in flood issues and all that. Once the money comes and it's approved, you know it's for a good cause, you have no avenue of basically following this up, not through any mechanism, unless you want to do it individually, which could be expensive. Maybe if you are a member of Parliament in that area, you may be able to follow things and all that. So that itself becomes problematic. So a lot of loans, not that they were bad loans, but the loans were not used for the purpose. And that is what has put us into the situation that we are in. Now, luckily, better late than never, in the new standing orders, we have segregated the finance committee from an economic committee. And as I said, because of the structure of the ministry itself, the finance committee also became just a finance committee and not looking anything economic. So by separating the two, the finance committee will concentrate on the usual loans and all that. But the economic committee Now we'll be looking at the impact, the economic impact of these monies that are, it has not started but should be part of the standing order.
Okay.
And hopefully, maybe going forward, it's too late in the day in the last 6 months or 5 months, but going forward, such committee will be able to chase and follow, you know, in a bipartisan way to make sure that the monies that we borrow. What frightens me every day is that we talk about Ghana needs the money. If we don't get the money, this IMF money, and some of us are being called, we are talking down the country and we don't love our country and all that.
So Honorable, just want to focus so I can introduce
The problem for me is that, yes, 360 million has arrived. Good news for the country. But will the money be used for the intended purpose to give us the type of relief we need and be able to grow our economy? And that's where I'm worried.
So, Honorable, the fear is that, well, this is what it is. With the way things are going, those who are saying that, oh, Ghanaian youth are calm, they will not resort to that level of violence, forget it.
Well, I mean, anything is possible. And when something untoward happens to your neighbor, it should be a wake-up call for you.
Right.
So for me, it is worth all of us taking steps to ensure that what happened in Kenya doesn't happen here. And that is why I find the statement made by the majority leader in Parliament yesterday worth it. And in that statement, he talks about the political class, irrespective of whether it is those in government or those in opposition. We all constitute the political class. Our actions and inactions in one way or the other can lead to such an unrest. I say both sides because those of us who are in government, our attitude and the kind of things we do as a government can lead to the unrest. Of course, those in opposition, the political class in opposition, their commentary can also ignite some confusion, resulting in such an unrest. So you need some kind of responsibility from both sides. Those of us in government must be listening to the masses and responding to the needs and aspirations of the masses. Whilst those in opposition should not, because of their quest for power, incite and make statements that incite the public against government. Both are equally important.
Right.
There could be some unpopular decisions government has made. You can't say that the opposition should not criticize it. Even there are some of those decisions that even people in government disagree with. But the way we comment on it also matters. We must do that in a very decorous manner that points to the issues or weaknesses of the policies and not make statements that seems to incite people against government. After all, when there is violence, you can never know who will be affected. It could be me, it could be you. So it is in our collective interest to act in ways that promote unity, that promote peace, that promotes development.
So yes, you say this, but do we demonstrate it for the youth to see that, yes, these are the things that we are actually doing and not just giving them a talk shop?
Well, it depends on how the individual sees it. I mean, don't let us also run away from the fact that what happened in Kenya and some of the things happening in other countries leading to people complaining and all that actually confirms the truth that there has been a global disorder. In the UK, in America, there are similar sentiments. There are people who are complaining. In Cote d'Ivoire, in Nigeria, I mean, all over the world, whether in Africa, in Europe, in America, in Asia, there are issues emanating from economic difficulties in Egypt, in South Africa. There's so much doomsday in South Africa. There's food shortage in Egypt, where people cannot even find, people are eating chicken feet. So the difficulties cut across the globe. And that is the stark reality. So in communicating our difficulties, we must also be conscious, because there are people who just run down the fact that, I mean, we are in difficulties because the government is not doing well, the government is incompetent and all those things. I mean, you can make some attribution to policy failures. No doubt about that. But there is that general difficulty across the globe,
right,
which people must also admit.
But the question is, how are we managing ours?
I mean, the indicators are showing positive. We are getting better. Are we not?
Right.
Are we not?
I mean, inflation, we know, has slowed.
Yes. And our growth rate, our GDP to what is it? Our growth rate has, for the first quarter, is remarkable.
No,
is it not?
When you're not paying your debt, yeah, your growth is not.
Minister.
So the growth is as a result of the fact that
you know that it's not true.
You are not paying your debt.
It cannot be.
If you factor in your debt,
Honorable,
you won't get a growth of 4.7%.
It cannot be the. It
can't wish that away.
It cannot be the whole truth. You see, that is why I keep saying that. Let's tell the people the truth. We have our bilateral debts. We have our multilateral debts. And you know that as of now, we are paying our multilateral debts. So it is not the case that we are not paying our debts at all. But the NDC keep misinforming Ghanaians.
It's the bilateral debts that are not being paid.
Yes.
As a result of...
Yes. So it is not the case that we are not paying our debts. We are not paying a certain category of debts. Yes. But we are paying another category of debts. All multilateral debts are being paid. Our bilateral debts, true, is not being paid. But what you don't also tell the people is that...
Commercial debt is not being paid.
Listen. The commercial debts are part of the bilateral debts.
No, they are not.
They are part.
Euro bonds are not part of bilateral debt.
I mean...
Euro bonds are with the financial institutions around the world.
Oh.
It's not bilateral debt. The bilateral debt is with a country. Oh. Euro bond is not with a country. That's a global debt.
The point I am making to you is that it is not true that we are not paying all our debt. We are paying some debt.
Okay.
And we are paying multilateral debt. I mean, if we and I agree that we are not paying some debt. But the point I'm also making is that you also know, because we are not paying our bilateral debt and our Eurobond, the projects that we are undertaking with these loans or facilities, monies are also being disbursed. And it also has a consequence. So it is not as if because we are not paying, it is negative. But also remember that because we are not paying, they are also disbursing, which also has a consequence on the economy. So it's a two-way sword. If we start paying now, they also start releasing or disbursing money, which will also be positive on our economy. So why do you always talk about the negative of we not paying the debt, but not talking about the fact that because we are not paying, they are also disbursing on all projects on Eurobond, and then our bilateral projects are not also continuing?
Because you have borrowed to the hills.
So if we start paying,
you are not paying your debts.
Minister, if we start paying, yes, we'll be paying money, but we'll also be receiving money. And so don't create the impression that it's
what
just
did we
negative.
Default? Because the country is technically bankrupt.
I mean, now we have restructured our bilateral debts. Eurobond of $13 billion, they are forgiving us $4.7 billion. Is that not the case?
That is not even true.
What is not true? I don't know why NDC you are interested in misleading.
You see, we are misleading the people.
You are rather...
You said you are getting savings. How do you get savings? I owe you money.
MP, you relax.
Okay,
relax. You are not like my senior brother Bernard. You are a very gentleman.
Go. A gentleman suffering in an economy that's not working.
So the focus basically is on how the youth see all of these. Because the youth does not understand, most of us, will not understand the technicalities involved in, oh, we are servicing this, we are doing that, we have been forgiven this and all of that. But generally, when the youth wakes up in the morning, how he feels is how he reacts. And what the people feel now, people say, well, with what is happening to the youth now, we are not far from Kenya.
But you see, some of the challenges that we face, especially with unemployment, is a systemic failure that takes a longer time to reform. You see, our system of education is such that we are training people how to read and pass exams. And you know, technically, when people read and pass exams and they get their certificate, all what they're waiting for is government to employ them. But we all know that all over the world, there is no government, not even in America or China, that the government employs beyond 50% of the population. You can't. Majority of the citizens must be employed in the private sector. And the only way to do that is to emphasize on skills education, skills training. But our system of education over the years has not been helpful. And that is why TVET education has become a critical part of Ghana's education under President Akufo-Addo, where, emphasis is now being shifted towards skills development, so that people leave school with the capacity to even start their own businesses, with the capacity to be self-employed, because that is the only way we can change the situation, and it is not a situation that can be changed within a day or two, because that one is a systemic failure over many years. That you have a system of education where you educate people, you train people to come out with certificate and wait for government employment. Everybody, all the young people in Ghana are chasing government employment. And the reality is that whether it is MPP, NDC, government has a limit to employing people. So the long-term solution to our problem is reforming our educational system, which President Akufo-Addo has done. Go to these technical and vocational institutes and see the kind of machines. We have a vocational institute which was established by the Catholics in Tumu, St. Clair's Vocational Institute. Under President Akufo-Addo, my brother, you need to go to that place and see the kind of equipment that have been put there. So, and it has been done across the country.
Right.
A lot of the TVET education is now being emphasized on, and more people must be encouraged to enter this institution so that by the time you finish, you are already employed. You have the skills. Then you only go and read and pass exams, and then you have certificates, and you have no skill. You are waiting for government to employ you. Government is overstressed, they can't employ, and so unemployment will continue to increase.
Right.
So I'm just saying that we also need to let people appreciate where we find ourselves, that our educational system has not been helpful, but President Akufo-Addo is taking steps and we are reforming it. Our, technical institutes, polytechnics. Even though they were meant to give skills training and all that, they have also changed focus and they have joined the traditional universities. But I can say that, at this point, they are also being provided with a lot of equipment so that they can emphasize on skills training. The last time I went to Wa Technical University, Dr. Heleleman Technical University, the kind of equipment that government has sent there, if only we can actually have the right trainers to train the young people in skills development, ICT, mechanics, masonry. If you go to secondary school and you train masonry, as a mason, and you go out and you have the skill and you can work. There's work all over the place. You don't need to write letter for employment. You go and learn carpentry and you get the required skills. When you get out there, you don't need to write letter for employment. There are people have jobs that are looking for people to work. But that is what is working.
All of us can also go into carpentry and masonry.
These are examples. Have I said that the traditional jobs that people do should?
I'm just bringing it in so that.
Are you not a media person?
Not to create the impression that
there are many sectors.
Right.
The media is one of them.
Yeah.
You went to school of journalism to be trained as a media person. There are a lot of radio stations, TV stations that young people are working in. Definitely. I'm just citing examples.
Yeah.
The major point I am making is that we need to shift our system of education from the traditional system to a system that emphasizes on skills training, which the government is doing. And I tell you, posterity will judge President Akufo-Addo right.
Definitely.
So,
we'll see.
I mean, I generally agree that we need to take caution. We must be mindful of the concerns of the youth of Ghana. I mean, a hungry man is an angry man.
Yeah.
If people are unemployed, they have no work to do, they have no food on the table, they have no source of income, they can't accommodate themselves. I mean, they can't do anything. And so all of us must be mindful, and we must begin to respond to their needs and aspirations. My senior brother made a point that I also think is very important. That is, looking at the political structure is something that we actually need to look at our constitution. I have been a deputy minister and now an MP. I also agree with him that if we have separation of the arms of government, it will be good. Where you have, if you are MP, you are MP. If you are a minister, you are a minister. Right. I mean, it will help. Or better still, if we are to operate this current system, then it is better we do we run the UK system of having having the prime minister system of the prime minister coming from parliament and who colleague members of parliament can hold accountable, and he can even be changed.
Right.
I mean, if you are because in Britain, to become a prime minister, you have to be a member of parliament, and your colleagues will have to choose you and the party. And if they at a point, the mandate of the 4 years is for all of us. It's not for one person. So if you are not doing well, we can substitute you and bring another person. Right. So we need to look at reforms to our governance structure so that there will be more accountability in running the state.
And when there's accountability, it will calm down the agitation of the youth.
Of course. I mean, when the youth feels you are responding to their needs and their aspirations and you are doing things the way they want, I mean, why will people agitate? But lastly, before my senior brother comes in, if you look at the way we operate our system of democracy, I think that the chances of we having the Kenyan situation, I believe is, I mean, people demonstrate without being. There have been several demonstrations in Ghana, but we've not had a situation where the police, the military have deliberately attacked our people who are demonstrating.
What do you mean by deliberately attacked? In Kenya, they were not deliberately attacked.
In Kenya, it was. I mean, they just stopped them. They said they will not allow them to demonstrate. But Bernard here, he's a champion of demonstration. The last time I saw him, on 3 occasions, I've seen him in Parliament. In these last 3 years I've been in Parliament, I've seen him in Parliament. Even recently, I saw him. I just pretended not to see him. I saw him walking freely, demonstrated to Parliament. Nobody.
And that's one of the things people say that, looking at what happens in Ghana, we are very far from Kenya. Kenya is very unlikely.
No, Kenya, their situation. I mean, the way government handled it was not good. In Ghana, I don't think.
And last week, Bernard he made a point on that one. But let me come to.
I mean, I'm not saying it has been 100%, but I mean, whether MPP or NDC, they've been hitches. I remember Let My Vote Count demonstration. You saw how police beat people, but at least it's not to that extreme.
Okay, so Bernard
has never been beaten.
You have the floor now.
But he's a champion demonstrator.
The parliaments now, in fact, the majority leader.
Are you not a professor or
class, we need to be careful.
What is your class in demonstration?
It is.
What is your rank?
It is in Africa.
Senior brother, what is your rank in demonstration?
We eat the food that we are unable to produce, and we brag about it. It is in Africa that we claim that.
Are you giving a poem?
That our economy.
Are you giving us a poem? Let us know.
Honorable. Let's Bernard.
No, I don't know whether it's a poem or he's discussing.
Making his point.
Are you discussing or you are giving us a poem?
Honorable, please, Bernard.
You know, you don't respond to things that are destructive. So it is in this Africa that we claim that we have grown our economy. And we go and borrow. In actual fact and in simple terms, when you say that your economy is growing, GDP is growing, what it means is that the wealth of the nation has increased.
Increasing, yeah.
And you cannot be increasing your wealth and be borrowing more than what you claim you have increased. Isn't that a paradox? Mm-hmm. That whilst your wealth is increasing, you borrow and sometimes to come and pay emoluments and salaries. And you brag about it. You claim your wealth is growing and your young people cannot get job to do. And yet you are growing wealth. We have to be serious. If you claim that figures speak, the figures are speaking nonsense. Because while the figures are telling you that you are doing well, the people's life conditions are getting worse and worse and worse. So you have to interrogate the figures that are speaking to you.
Right.
Because those figures must have an impact and a reflection on the lives of the people. Your wealth is growing and nothing is working in that direction. There is something wrong. And I agree with the point that, look, you are financing an economy that you don't understand, you don't control. And how many times do I need to make this point so that we can appreciate that we own nothing and therefore the wealth or the growth of our economy is not for us but for some other people? The last time we started in this studio, I said that we have about 20 million active subscribers of mobile phones. Mm-hmm. And I said that on average, we use about 10 Ghana cedis. On average. Some people use more than 10 cedis a day. Mm-hmm. So if on average we have 20 million people times 10 Ghana cedis, how much does the telecos earn in a day? That's 200 million.
In one day.
In one day. Multiply that 200 million times 365 days, and you get to understand how much money is taken by the telecos. When they take their money, I say that the MTN comes with their portmanteau, the word he doesn't want. They carry their share of their money, right, put in their bag, boom, they are gone. Telecel, formerly Vodafone, they take their share, they are gone. Glo will take their share, they are gone. 80, that's Airtel Tigo, will take their share and they are gone. They carry their money. Then you sit down. There is growth in telecommunication, the penetration and the amount of money they get. Minister Alai, there is growth.
Yes.
And where is that growth? In your country. So where is this fictitiousness? So any growth that you claim you have, as soon as you have calculated it and you are there boasting about the numbers, that growth is taken away.
Right.
The people who own that growth are somewhere Canada. They are in Papua New Guinea. They are playing golf. Your young people cannot get job.
So they see all the money happening around, but nothing
so
really
you
gets
see,
to them.
we are living in a disillusional economy, a deceptive economy, where we are compelled to use gross domestic product as an indicator of the health of our economy. And we too. Did you see the growth? We grew by 4.7 in the last quarter. Please, that is scandalous. You are growing and you are borrowing. We have to recalibrate our minds in order to fit in that anytime there is growth, we must feel that growth.
Right.
And that is why the economic planning is necessary. That you cannot be financing something that you don't know. And that is how come that you can have a Minister of Trade telling you that they are going to regulate cement production and regulate prices. When all that you needed to do is that the state should establish its own cement product line. And then you can use that one to be as the
benchmark.
The benchmark. When we talk, you say we are socialists. But if socialism is the panacea to our bankrupted and abandoned economy, why are you running away from it? Because we are looking for solution to our nation and our continent. The young people of Africa will not tolerate mediocrity. You see, you say that we are going to learn from Kenya. The Kenyans learned from our examples of MPs beating each other in parliament. What was it about? It was about the fact that the majority wanted to impose themselves on an issue that they had no control. The MPs, didn't you beat each other? On electronic transactions levy, we pointed out the inimical nature of this tax. And on many occasions, I indicated that, look, nowhere under the sun do you see that working capital of businesses is taxed. I did simple calculation that I am going to buy my farm equipment, but I am all the way in Sakana. And so I take part of the capital and send it to Honorable Chinya, who is in Accra. That, look, the equipment is 10,000, so I send you 10,000. So go and withdraw the 10,000 and go and pay. When I send the 10,000, I have to pay charges. When he is going to withdraw, he pays charges. So my working capital is decreasing. Or I have to go and borrow more than my working capital in order that I am able to execute a business that costs 10,000. You get it?
Right.
So anytime I have to send money for the purchase of items, it means that my capital is sinking and sinking and sinking. In the end, I will have no capital. Didn't we say this? Did our government put cotton wool in their ears? You wanted to do electronic transfers, and I call it TV, but you wanted levies, charges. And we said that, look, if you understand what's up, if you are a guy, you know that today, a bulk of businesses are done online. If I want to buy, or I see this shoe, and I like it, I simply take a picture, go into the system and put it. They will tell me where to get the type of, and the price, not so. All that I will do is to place an order. When the item is delivered and I inspect, I pay. Facebook does that. TikTok does that. X does that. YouTube does that. So if you want to actually do electronic taxing, you tax these apps. The owners of these apps are the people that you get and say, look, a bulk of trading is taking place. And we have, and you go to these platforms and institute a tax mechanism. In the United States, they call Mark Zuckerberg so that Facebook can be taxed. The EU Parliament called Mark Zuckerberg and sat down with him so that they can tax him. We are here with bankrupt thoughts. All that we know is that, yes, electronic transfers, people are doing Momo. So go and get money, 6.7 billion. When we wanted to talk about e-levy, which led me to sleeping in the frontage of Parliament, that Chinya is gloating this morning about.
Yeah, he said he saw you, and he pretended he didn't see you.
Yes. How would he see me? So he had to pretend. So that time when we were protesting and telling you that this thing was not going to work, you told us that 6.7 billion is money that you could rake. We told you that it will not come. We're called all manner of names. Then e-levy was seen as the solution to all the problems that this country faces. When you talk about agriculture, they tell you that e-levy. You talk about education, they say e-levy. Road contracting, they say e-levy. You talk about health, they said e-levy. Today, that e-levy is in place, and we are still in this hiatus.
Right.
Boss.
You have given him too much time.
Yeah.
Boss, listen. It was the Honorable Tufero who was around the Tema Port and was called that they were going to do e-levy.
But don't do that.
And
Don't personalize it. Don't personalize it. These are the things that create problems. Why are you personalizing it?
Is it not a statement?
No. Don't personalize it.
What
No.
I'm saying
What has
was
Tuferu got to
Tuferu
do?
not at the port
It
area.
doesn't matter. Levy was passed. What is it? Don't personalize it to any. Don't do that.
You should take
Bernard,
special note.
Please make your
that
point.
if I'm not happy with what he says, I simply laugh. I don't interject. If I am your elder brother, learn from the good examples that I'm exhibiting when I'm doing discussions.
What good example?
So Bernard, just make your point.
When you are,
we need to very touch on
when you are,
such strike.
no, don't narrow it. Don't narrow it to
So
some.
I'm not narrowing. I'm expressing
No, don't
what
do that, Bernard.
transpired.
Don't
And
do
that
that.
Tuferu
Don't do that,
left
Bernard.
the port
Bernard, don't do that.
and was in such a supersonic speed that by GIJ, his car somersaulted. When he managed to gain consciousness, he rushed to Parliament. When he was confronted by journalists, he said that passing an inimical law and imposing burdens on the people of Ghana was better than his life. Thankfully, he was in Kenya. When the young people were protesting against bad laws, and I was hoping that this my MP will come out and tell the Kenyan youth that allow your parliament and your president to sign the bad law because it's better than your life. Now you were being sheepishly, pushed through a tunnel.
To a bunker.
So Sech, when he came back, as Governor Agboja would say, it was time for him to come and say that using parliament to pass very draconian laws and imposing burdens on citizens can lead to the kind of situation that the Kenyan authority find itself. So you'll be advising parliament to be passing good laws so as to avert the kind of situation we have. So we expect you, the two of you, go back to parliament and tell them that if you continue to allow parliament to be used to pass laws that are inimical, draconian, and obnoxious, that undermines people's well-being, the Kenyan situation cannot be abated.
Right. All right, gentlemen. So the next thing I want us to please
One minute.
1 minute.
Yes, to add to what my brother Mona has said, which is quite troubling. Not only passing, laws that go against the people, but also not telling them the truth. And I think you need a different session, and the media needs to do this.
Right.
About this debt exchange thing that the minister is talking about. My good brother, Honorable, Amin Adam started well, but he's going on a different tangent now. This savings he's talking about is actually non-existent. And when we go telling people that we have made savings, this youth you are talking about are expecting that if we have made savings of 4.7 billion US dollars, then they must see some development and some improvement that will inure to their benefit.
Right.
But it is non-existent in a sense that we were servicing our debt with more debt. We were borrowing to service our debt. And as we could not borrow anymore, we defaulted and we stopped paying. We were not paying our external debt in terms of bilateral. We were not paying the Eurobond. In terms of the multilateral that he's talking about, they were lending us money to pay them. This 360 million that the IMF has just given us, some of it will go and pay back the IMF. So if you are in debt and you are borrowing to pay your debt, and I give you or you give me a debt relief, just for one second.
Right.
I owe you 1,000. And then I was borrowing to pay that 1,000. Okay? And then I said, look, I can't pay anymore. So then you decided, okay, I'm going to give you some relief. I'm going to take 400 off so that you don't pay the 400. That 400 I was paying, I was borrowing to pay it. So when you give it to me as a relief, I stop borrowing.
Yeah.
That is not savings. It doesn't mean that I have 400 in my hand
It won't come
that
to you.
that I can now spend.
Okay.
The only thing is that now the borrowing of 400 is what you have managed for me to stop doing that. So if you come talking about, and debt has never been equated to savings. It is investment. Basic finance will tell you it is investment that translates to savings, and not debt.
Okay.
No. So don't give the young people this impression that some 4.7 billion has been saved.
Okay.
From where?
All right.
I completely disagree with my senior brother.
Please, in 30 seconds. So that because
can I use 30 seconds?
And I thought it was because Napo will be confirmed today. That's why you are in white. But we need to talk about that briefly. So please make your point and let's talk about Napo.
I disagree with him because, if you have a debt of over $13 billion and you negotiate, and there are two things that happened in it. $4.7 billion have been forgiven. You are not going to pay it again. So you can't tell me it is not savings. But another $4 billion is going to be cash flow. And I think that is
that's fine.
That is the part he's explaining.
No, that's not the part I'm explaining. I'm explaining
that one is still going to be paid, but it will be available to you at the spur of the moment, but you will still pay it. So there is the difference between the two, the $4.7 billion
and the
4.4 billion dollars. So the $4.7 billion is forgiven. We are not paying it. So it accrues to you as the money you would have been using to pay it now comes to you as savings.
That's what I'm telling you. The money you would have used to pay is debt.
No.
It's debt.
No. We were supposed to generate the money and pay that money.
We were not generating any money. We were borrowing.
So because we are not going to pay that money any longer.
It becomes savings. And then the other $4.4 billion, that is what will come as cash flow, which you pay anyway later. It's deferred.
So
I don't.
You don't have the money.
You are rather misleading the point.
Right, but today your National Council is approving Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh as running mate to Dr. Baumia. And
is it confirmed?
No, today they are actually approving. National Council will be approving. And I thought that was why he was in white.
Oh, no. I'm just in white for.
Is
that true or you can't say?
What? No. As for me on this, I have supported Napono today. He has been my choice of candidate.
All right, okay.
Long time, and Bernard, you are aware. Bernard, are you not aware that he has been my choice of candidate?
Now you need my support.
No, I'm just.
You need my support to agree.
It's something we have been discussing, and you know my position.
We have not discussed anything.
Well, one of the things you have mentioned is that
among this character, you think you can become president?
No, this me and you, we have not discussed anything. You and Lantam discuss your matter.
You have made it. You have made it. Last week you even said it here that among the people he stands tall for you. For which reason you believe that he will be a
our leader and the next president of the republic.
No, he says it's possible. I said I'm the next president. Why are you using my terms? He said it is possible, and I say I'm next president.
Bernard, you have your 2 minutes.
No, but he cannot somersault and be using something that is.
So you have to.
You have not even been chosen as flag bearer.
But I'm the next president.
You are still as flag bearer.
I am the next president. He says that it is possible.
And Honorable David Pasara will beat you.
Don't worry. He says it is possible. I say I'm the next president.
So with Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh confirmed today, you believe that the campaign takes flight?
I don't want to stampede somebody's role. I am not a member of the National Council, and I wouldn't want to make a categorical statement that he will be confirmed or otherwise. But I can only appeal to them because.
Well, that's what the executives of the party have said.
The flag bearer has indicated his choice. He has discussed that with the certain president, who is his boss. He has discussed that with the majority caucus. He has discussed that with the steering committee of the party, and of course, I'm sure he has engaged other stakeholders within the party. Now it is for National Council to approve the nomination of Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. I wouldn't want to stampede their role, but I am very hopeful that
you are not a member.
No, I'm not a member. I'm very hopeful. There are 20 members of parliament but I'm not one of them.
Right.
I am very hopeful that they will approve his nomination by His Excellency, the Vice President, because, he's worth it. He's dynamic, he's competent, he's hardworking, and he's a straightforward person.
Okay.
And that is the kind of charisma and character that we need in our next Vice President. And Matthew Opoku Prempeh is just excellent, and I have no doubt. And the value he's going to add to the ticket is significant.
Okay.
His record as a Minister of Education, Minister for Energy has been very outstanding.
Okay.
I mean, he has demonstrated capacity, he has demonstrated knowledge, and he's a team player. There are certain times, I mean, in our society when you are somebody who is able to speak your mind or who is straightforward, some people begin to give you all kinds of classifications but that is it. Okay. At the end of the day, you must be useful to the group you belong to. You must be able to add some value to the group, which I believe Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh is capable of doing. I mean, there are some dynamics I have looked at from the onset, for which reason he has been my choice of vice presidential candidate from the beginning. Okay. That I wouldn't want to say, but at the end of the day, with him and Dr. Bawumia, I am very, very convinced that MPP is going to win. Okay. And briefly, look, the other time we were discussing the info analytic, their survey here,
the report.
I took the position that if you're a political party or an individual and somebody does a survey or a research and you even think the person is biased against you, but don't discount, take lessons from it. That has been my position. Okay. Now you see that even from their own latest survey, the NDC flag bearer has moved from 57% to 53%, and Dr. Bawumia has moved from 30
to 38 now.
33 or 34
to 38.
38.
Now. Okay.
That is just, if they do another survey, I'm telling you, by their own standard, right? Another one in 2 months' time, you see the change.
All right, let me bring
Besides that, there are some dynamics that people don't look at. See, when you do a survey like this across the country, but you must know that there are certain places that the voter population and its implication on the general election is different from the numbers you use in doing survey. Right. So somebody can have 53% in terms of survey report, but when it comes to the actual numbers in the vote, and depending on your party's strongholds, you will see that they will collapse.
I would have been very worried if His Excellency Dr. Bawumia was going to form the next government, and in that case, Honorable Martin Opoku-Prempeh will become the vice president. Because for me, the value is actually the same. Somebody will say 4 minus 4 is 0, 2 minus 2 is 0. The value is the same. And I don't see anything new in that. But fortunately, they will not form the next government. So it's just an academic exercise.
Okay. Bernard, briefly.
Well, I wish the National Council well. I doubt whether they have the capacity to reject a nominee.
Don't use those words. How do you mean whether they have the capacity?
Bernard,
why don't they have the capacity?
Just
why will you use these kind of words? This is not presidential.
So you like that to him always?
Bernard, just
today is a special disposition.
My senior brother, so that is I treat him that way. The language
they don't have the capacity to reject.
No. This language is presidential.
Has said it. That whilst it's a constitutional imperative, it is just in literature that the presidential candidate selects somebody, nominate and bring to the council, and the council has approved. Yeah. No, and that has been the trend.
President Akufo
Bernard, your time is running out now.
Tell me the name
so
of
Bernard,
the person.
thank you. So you wish them well. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Bernard Monam, he's a flag bearer aspirant of the PNC, and he says he will be president of the country.
I know more than you think.
Alhaji Amidu is member of parliament for Sisala East, and also Deputy Minister for Water and Sanitation and Water Resources. And then Honorable Kweku Rikitagan, former Deputy Minister of Trade, and also the Member of Parliament for Cape Coast South. Yes, all of that. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming this morning. But before we go, let me tell you, because I'm sure you have bills to pay, and for 15 years, Quick Credit has been providing the solutions to all that you need in terms of the loans that you need and the bills that you need to pay. Now we are bills, and so we are synonymous to ensuring that those things are catered for. So we are still committed to serving Ghanaians and changing lives Bills is here to show you that everything is possible. Join us as we embrace a brighter future. Bills, financing your needs. We'll be right back after this break with more. Stay with us.
What can we tap out? What are the positive sides? It makes it okay for them not to say, hey, I want to abandon my child. I want to, leave my child somewhere because, I will be shunned upon when I walk into society. So society needs to, first of all, accept them to make it easy on them. What society does is the result of how they react in return as to, I don't want my child is disabled, and they don't amount to nothing, So a lot lies on who is watching. What are you doing about what you are watching? How are you contributing to it?
Anytime you drive on the streets of Accra, for you as a person living with disability, seeing people like you in traffic, begging for alms, how does that make you feel?
Trust me, it breaks my heart. And if you know me on a personal note, there are two things I nearly did not set up this foundation for. Living in Ghana, I saw people with disability beg for money. And appearance is not looking good.
Yeah.
So when I stepped out of Ghana, knowing what I know today, and in my career, I vowed never to beg for money. I vowed never to look less of what I want to look. I always want to brand myself. You see me, you may see a disability. Start talking to me, it wipes off your brains. So yes, I see them and it sinks my heart. Left to me alone, poverty should never stop anybody from being mobile.
What do you think can be done? I mean, government, corporate institutions, even for us as the media?
The media, I'll put it to you, awareness, awareness, awareness. Education, education, education. The government, talk to them. You have the face, you have the voice. If the people on the street cannot get to the ministries, your voices can get there.
Absolutely.
Let's collaborate. Let's do something. And you have people like me who have lived both worlds and can give you free knowledge of what you need to get to where you have to get to. So let's use it. Let's collaborate. Let's get somewhere. Let's do something. It's okay, and we can do it.
Okay, so now that you talk about it, you've lived in both worlds. What do you think we're doing differently from what somebody else is doing elsewhere that is not critically tackling the challenge?
What we are doing differently is we are not providing. Our attention is not going on them. Are we providing for them without including them? Have we spoken to them? How can you help me without you talking to me to know what need I have? I have polio, but if you meet one person with polio, you've met one person with polio. Mine could be my right leg from the hip down. Someone's could be the arm. Someone's could be the neck. So if you don't talk to me and you want to give me medication based on polio, or you want to cure my polio, you don't know where it is affecting me and you don't know what I need. I may not have the name of the mobility device I need, but I can describe my pain to you and you can give me what I need in return. So let's talk to them. What do they need? Government, let's come down to the people. Talk to them. What do you need to be successful? What is your skill set? Let's tap that skill set out of them. Take the strength out there. Yes, they cannot do that, but what can they do? Let's tap it out. Let's bring it out to light.
What's been your assessment of disability in Africa as compared to the West, Simone?
In Africa, so far, what I've seen is that they're not seen as humans. They're not given the chance to be their best self. When you have a disability, as what people might call it, that doesn't mean that you're not human. You don't want education, or you don't need food, you don't need to move around. We're all experiencing a human experience here on earth. And we need to make sure that everyone is included into that experience. Like Jennifer said, I had to go up the stairs, she had to go up the ramp, but we both met at the same place. And that's what we need here in Africa.
And so we need a lot of inclusivity. Let's discuss your foundation and what you've been doing. How many years since you set it up?
4 years now.
4 years. What are the things you've been doing? Simone, can you help us?
Well, here at Vigilo, we've been doing fundraisers in the community, our local community. We've gathered everyone we know every year. We have sponsors and donors who are for the cause. And with those sponsorships and donations, we've been able to bring to Ghana wheelchairs, crutches, mobility devices, food, education, resources, medical. We pay medical bills for children and adults as well. We go out into the community, and when we see someone that is in need and we have it on us, we give it to them. So that's what our fundraising has been able to do. But we are only 2 people in Vigilo, and we need help all the time. We need sponsors all the time, donations all the time. We will never want to turn someone away because of lack of funds. So we need the community near and far, Ghana, America, the Caribbean, everywhere, to donate to Vigilo so we can continue our mission successfully.
Now, Johnny, for 4 years of existence, what are some of the things that you've critically tackled?
4 years of existence. 2021, we raised $10,000, came down to Ghana, gave mobility devices, paid tuition, all that Simone said. And then in 2022, we raised 18,000, came down to Ghana, did the same thing. Now, 2023, we raised 20,000, we came down, we had 3 footprints. We did in Sawam, the orthopedic center that taught me how to use crutches. And then we went to Alaba Market in Kumasi, randomly stopped by people, talked to them, give them motivation, give them mobility devices. And then we took it up to the north, Tamale, and we blessed and donated to the physically challenged community out there. Now, this year, I would, for the sake of time or respect to time, I would say we have success stories. Success stories where we have helped a student with amputation. They reached out to us. We just came to a show, had an interview, and they started writing to us. So we reached out to them. We sent them to the center so they can be medically checked. And then from there, they were fixed with prosthetics legs. As we speak, we had a child who was just amputated, less than 2 years old, in Rich Hospital, healing, and after that, we are getting ready to give them prosthetics. We had another guy in a remote area who reached out to us and said, hey, I heard about you guys. My leg is amputated from the knee below, and I need amputation. Today, he's working on, his prosthetic legs. Now, we have 3 entrepreneurs who are working, but income is not flowing as regular. They needed mobility device. We went ahead and gave it to them, and it is on us every year to change their mobility device. We came down this year with 4 footprints. We get out of the studio, we head into Nima, with collaboration with Afro-Arab. We donating crutches and giving motivational speech. On Saturday, we are heading Orthopedic Training Center in Sawam, where we're going to have a grand donation of $20,000. On Monday, we are going to Ashanti region with collaboration to Semba Africa to donate in the same market, Alaba market, physically challenged, individuals with mobility device. We pick it up to the north the next day on the 9th to donate wheelchairs, crutches, what have you. And we're looking at building a resource center, an accessible resource center in Tamale for the physically challenged community out there.
Okay, so these are the flyers on the screen.
Yes.
So we'll take them one after the other. So let's start off with Nima.
Okay. So Nima, we are heading there this afternoon with...
so it's happening this afternoon?
This afternoon. Okay. We have the mobility devices load up in the car. Right from here, we're hitting that road. And then we are collaborating with Afro-Arab to, donate to the physically challenged community out there. And that would be ending this afternoon right there in Nima, next door to you guys.
But was it a reach out to you, or you select? What do you do? Do you select at random, or people reach out to you, Simone? before you coming, I wanted to find out, do people reach out to you that, oh, I'm physically challenged, I need this, I need that, and so you decide, you sift through? I wanted to ask you, Simo, before she comes out with...
Through. If you reach out to her, she's helping. She's helping. The way she does the legs, how do you do the tours? Like, how do you choose?
I was going to say this is her first time, so I was going to help her with that. Okay, so with this Nima, I didn't know anyone in Nima, but last year when I came in, I met one guy called Alaji in Nima. He's like, I saw you on TV and I see what you're doing. I do have a community who needs this. I said, well, what is your community? What do they do? How many people are they? So we started talking from there. And then he was like, okay, I'm willing to help. I can get them together. I said, okay, what do they need? What do they complain about? So I can prepare my speech as to how I can motivate them. And that is how this came through. So Alaji goes ahead to gather the people, and then he puts them in his office, and I'm going to go there, meet with them, talk with them, have a refreshment.
So these are all persons living with disability?
All persons.
Various forms of disability?
Various forms of disability, but it has to be a physical disability.
Okay. But how many are they? Do you know the number?
Today, we are able to give out to 15 people brand new crutches and, right. But I don't know the total number that is going to come. I don't know if they are coming with their caregivers. I don't know. But then we are expecting a huge number, but the people who are going to be touched.
As you raised the point of caregivers, I think it's a very critical area. A lot of challenged people do not have caregivers in Ghana.
Yes.
I'm sure you've seen that.
Yes, they don't have caregivers. And then again, who is motivating the caregivers?
That's true.
Where is their strength coming from? So we need that. We need each other. We need to, and then we need to encourage them too, and give praise where praise is due. You're doing a good job. Do you need help? How can I help you? Let's step in. It's not too much. Before you know, you've done it. You think it's too much when you've not started it, but before you know, when you started, you will be done.
Absolutely. So let's go to Nsawam then, and then we know. But you've been doing this for Nsawam for 3 years, for the past 3 years before this year. What have they come back with stories of how, if not for Vigilo Foundation, this wouldn't have happened to me, that wouldn't have happened to me?
Now, when you talk of Nsawam, you're talking to me because I lived there. My first 3 years when I was diagnosed, I was admitted at the Orthopedic Training Center in Nsawam, where Reverend Sister Elizabeth Newman and Brother Tassasius, may his soul rest in peace, were working. So I lived there, and there were times when my parents could not afford my mobility device. They paid. They are my advocates. And that is the reason why I do what I do today.
I get goosebumps as you talk,
I have it too every time I talk, And trust me, it's a place to be. When you get there and you see the children and how they are showing off their skill set, letting go of what disability is, it tells you you are somebody. So Nsawam holds a special place in my heart, and it's always a special place of love. I get there and I belong. I landed on Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. 7 p.m., I have my 3 daughters spending a night with the physically challenged in Nsawam, and I picked them up yesterday.
Wow.
They should see how I grew up. Live in the dormitories with them, help them out. So yes, Nsawam is a place where if everyone, I would plead of everyone, visit them, Orthopedic Training Center, Edwejiri in Nsawam. See the physically challenged, the children who were abandoned. This white lady lives in Louisiana, has no business in Ghana, relocated in Ghana, early 70s, and living here. I'm like, why did you abandon your rich culture and you are here?
Exactly.
She lives here and she doesn't have children of her own.
Wow.
But she's taking care of many children.
Wow.
So who am I not to pay back?
So after your daughters spent a night there, what was the story they told you the following day?
They kept talking in the car, and I'm like, you know what? I have an interview tomorrow morning. I'm getting prepared. You can hold on to your stories, but you have to write a journal to your school.
Right.
I know what it will be. I want to hear you. But at this point, I'm preparing for the next audience. But we are still going to go back to that. So I can't give you the details of that, but it was a cultural shock.
But did they really appreciate it?
Oh, yes. It was a cultural shock for them. And I can't wait to hear the details of it. I don't want to give them the, half attention. So
I know. So in Salome, you're giving out $20,000?
$20,000, and that is food items, rice, detergents, tuition, medical bills, all that good stuff. All amounting to $20.
Wow. And then you go to, that's what you
this is the items that goes to Insawam. When we were, you see Simone in there, her husband, my children, all packing stuff from our garage to the U-Haul truck, and then we go to the shippers and then ship them out to Ghana.
That's a lot of stuff that you're doing. Congratulations
Thank
to
you.
you. That's a lot of stuff. Now, Simone, I'm sure you've been to. Have you been to Insawam yet?
Yes.
What was it like for you?
I saw beautiful children just being children and just existing in their world. And Jennifer's 3 girls looking at them as just children. And it was beautiful. Amazing. They do great work there.
I'm sure you're asking yourself why you've not been here all along.
Yes.
So you go from Salome, you go to Alaba in Kumasi. And there you do some donations. To market
to the market area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And these are all physically challenged people.
Physically challenged people.
What would you do for them?
So I have wheelchairs. No, this time I don't have crutches, the forearm crutches and armpit crutches. So last year it was a bit tough because they were all not at one location. So we have to keep walking in the market. This year, Simba Africa is collaborating with us, and they were going to go into the market and bring them all together. So depending on if we have 40 crutches, they are going to bring 40 people because we don't want anyone to be disappointed. Bring them together. Let's talk to them. Let's tell them, hey, you want to look at the bright side of future. You don't want to give up on yourself. Give them some motivational talks and then give them the crutches that they need to be mobile. I mean, hey, if you can move from one place to the other, you can move to the next phase of your life.
And then you go to Tamale.
And then we go to Tamale.
At what point did you add Tamale?
Tamale, I added Tamale from last 3 years.
Okay.
I paid a visit and I went to Mole Park. And I have a friend who is from Tamale, and she's like, listen, I think you should visit my place. I said, okay. I didn't know she had a hidden agenda, right? So she was like, okay, if you visit my place, there's a place called Mole Park. So all I knew was I'm going to Mole Park.
Yeah, you're going on a tour.
And then I get there and I see children on bikes with ladies, tiny babies. And the disability had a huge number there. And I realized, okay, it's their mobility, their vehicles, their transportation. And I'm like, okay, how can I meet someone who has a challenge and talk to them to see what are the challenges, what is causing this? So I met one person who took me to the head of the physically challenged community there, talking to them. Whoa, did I realize I was running into something I wasn't ready for? They came in their numbers. So I'm like, oh no, here is where the need is. And ever since then, I added them on.
And so what are you doing for them this time around?
This time we're giving them $3,000 to start the building project. They're accessible because the chief that we met last year had given us a land. So we want to build an accessible building for them. Where they meet is a government facility and there is no accessibility. They have stairs, they don't have ramps, there is no elevator. I want to give them a standard that other people can learn from when they are building in, society, to think of the physically challenged, think of inclusiveness, when you're building.
So there's a video of you at the mall as you go about your daily life. I want viewers to have a sneak peek of it.
And I decided to shop. My husband is gone to work, one car. But in the United States, if you are physically challenged and you let your transportation department know, or the government knows, they give you a bus that can come home and pick you up. Now, they pick you up from the door to where you're going. And when you're done, you can call them to pick you up from there. When you get to the grocery store, there is an accessible cart.
Mobility carts.
Yes. So then I sit on there, and it's called a scooter, right? So I sit on there, and I can walk through the aisles, pick all I want, just as anybody else. And I'm not sure if there could be anybody passing by me, but you see that nobody's looking at you like, okay, what is wrong with you? But yes, somebody may watch and be like, okay, and even make you know there is something wrong with you. There is nothing like that there. Everybody just goes minding their business. I mind my business, I pick all I want, and then I get there, I pay for it, and I'm gone. But here, I can't have the same life. So how then good it is for me to come to my own country and I don't feel welcome or accessible to stay. But I go elsewhere and I'm like, this is where I can call home because I can move around. I can do everything I want to do just like anybody else. I don't have to wait on anybody.
And so do you think that for a lot of you who have relocated abroad, you sit back and say, oh, at this age, I want to go back home. I want to go back home and retire and rest. Was that ever your story?
No.
Why?
I want to visit until things change. I come in here to show love and be an advocate for those who are walking the path that I once walked that was not pleasant. It will surprise you to know when I get on an aircraft to Kumasi or Tamale, up to today, I don't know about tomorrow that I'm going, they don't have a ramp. I still have to force myself on those steep stairs.
Yes.
Why? And I keep asking myself, is it the objective and goal for the physically challenged to always be by the road and beg for money, never able to afford a ticket to get on a plane, so there is no accommodation for them, or what? What is it?
You know, as you mention it, I'm just critically reminiscing that indeed, even for the abled, it is a challenge for older folks to climb those stairs. How much more those who are challenged? And it's a critical area that we are not paying attention. And the aviation industry gives us a lot of money.
Yes. Yes. It doesn't cost much to do that. It is a gateway. Foreigners come to this country a lot. And we have a lot of educated people in this country. Get out of the airport, not even 2 minutes. People are begging for money on a busy street that has no accommodation for walkways. How? And at the airports, listen, disability, everyone will face it. Make it easy for me today. You are just paving way for yourself tomorrow. Dodge it in an accident or whatever, old age will catch up with you. Make the room easy for yourself. I have lived it, so many years. I have my shortcuts and my short ways of living it. How about you? If you get it tomorrow, you are not prepared. You are going to need me. So listen to me. Let's make the accommodations. Let's make the places accessible. You'll be okay.
I'm sure when you interact with a number of physically challenged people in Ghana, they tell you how difficult even it is to find spouses.
Oh, yes. You know, when you are disabled, right? Job, spouse, friend, they see you as forbidden. Or don't go play with her child. Your child will end up on crutches like that. But it's not true. Polio is not contagious.
No.
And you'll be surprised it even happens in the very educated homes. You know, you're a medical doctor, you know polio is not contagious. You have a young lady, a young man there with good brains who can be a lawyer. But just because of the looks, you marry someone else who you think is presentable for whatever reason you feel is presentable for. But that's not where your heart is. What you need to complete your heart is the brain of that person.
Is your husband Ghanaian?
Oh, he is a full-blooded Ghanaian and a cute one.
I saw him. He's a cute one. Yeah, you made a good choice.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're lost. I was only saying that.
He's I know how to shop.
Yeah. She's a good shopper. Yeah.
Beautiful family.
Yeah, she has a beautiful family.
Thank you.
Do you think if your husband didn't live in the States, you would have landed him as a husband?
I'll tell you yes, and I'll give him. Okay. You cannot hold me on this, okay? I'll give him 45% and give the 55% to his mom. Actually, his mom. And you'll be surprised to know this woman was the one who started calling me an in-law before my husband even came into the picture. And we lived 5 houses apart.
Really?
And we lived in Ghana, yeah.
Oh, so she was your matchmaker.
I guess. Don't tell anyone.
but it's a good initiative. So this afternoon you're starting. It's today, right?
Today.
Today you're starting at Nima.
Yeah.
So it's an everyday. So today Nima, tomorrow.
No, not tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow we have an interview, and then we have Saturday in Sawam.
Okay.
Monday we have Kumasi. Tuesday we have Tamale.
Mm-hmm. How do you deal with the series of requests that come to you?
I have no idea, but they happen. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I get overwhelmed. I look at the account and I'm like, Simone, you know, we're not even up to 10,000 yet. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the request on social media? Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, we got this. And you know what? My husband and Simone, they are a beast. I'll tell you that. And they are the torture of my life, okay? These people go out there and have a big budget. And then they go, let's do a fundraising. We need about 150 people. And then she goes and gives a rebuttal. Oh, Jennifer, you know I don't know a lot of people, right? And then my husband knows, oh, Jennifer, you got this. So at the table, you know, everybody is pointing fingers at me now. So how can you need 150 people? You haven't made room. You haven't arranged anything, but you're looking at me. And then they come 1 week. Jennifer, how many people we got so far? Well, I thought it was a team thing. But all to say, we don't know how it happens. But it does happen. There's always a miracle that comes true, and these people are seen too. Yeah.
Congratulations.
We said thank you. We set a target of 30,000 this year, right? Yeah. Trust me, we hit that target and a little more.
Wow.
Yeah. And we don't know how. Thanks to JP Morgan Chase employees, thanks to our friends and families in Ohio, in the United States, and our sponsors, man. It is amazing. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. Sometimes I sit down and I say, so what if this calling came and I sit down there to talk about, I don't like begging for money. I don't like looking wretched, so therefore forget it. How many people's blessing would I have been sitting on?
But you're not Ghanaian.
No.
You decided to come help a country you didn't know. Why?
Because I know her. And I know her passion and her drive. I've known her for 20 years. And nothing has stopped her. The only time I've seen her disabled is when I got here.
Okay.
That's the first time.
Wow. Yeah. So you think that there's a need to do more?
It's a need.
Okay. We wish you all the best, and we pray that you get more support so you can support more people. So I've been speaking to Jennifer Mensah-Bonzi. She's a founder of Vigilo Mobility Foundation, and Simone Henry is the Director of Development for the Vigilo Mobility Foundation. There's a lot that we all can do to help people out there. Let's go out there. There's nothing that is too small to help. It could be just offering somebody water. You may never know that change you could be in somebody's life. That's it for Health Alert. And to everybody celebrating their birthdays today, we say happy birthday to you. To anybody marking any celebration, we say congratulations to you. My name is Lily Mohammed. Thank you very much for staying tuned, and thank you to the people who make this show possible. My producer, director, camera, sound, light, and floor, and all the people who are always helping. I just sit here and do the talking, but the real work, I say, goes on behind the scenes. So thank you very much, and thanks to you for always making a date with us. Have a great day.